Hi, welcome back to my channel. I don't know if you can tell, but we are in my kitchen. I'm filming at the kitchen table instead of the living room floor. I do have the front door open, but I don't know if the car is driving by, if that noise is going to travel, and whether or not my camera, my cell phone, is going to record that noise. So I will apologize in advance if you do hear that. And then I also want to say I'm sorry that I didn't upload a video on Monday or this past Friday. My husband is slowly getting better. It had been a struggle trying to get him to make appointments, to do his labs, see his doctor. I'm still dealing with my hand and wrist issues, and I have this medical condition that I need to put back on the burner and decide what I'm going to do about it. I've been putting it off for weeks because of my hand and wrist pain, but I'm told that I need to think about it again and decide on something. So that's why I hadn't done much work in my planners. So in here is my Sterling Ink Common Planner, A5 size, inside a Hobonichi cover. Over here is my Wonderland 222. I use this as my writer's notebook. And then over here is my N1, which I use as my health, medical, meal tracker, exercise, steps, weight, inside a standard traveler's notebook. And then another thing that I may share with you, because I started using this last week, is the HB90 planner created by Sarah Cannon of Heart Breathings. I am wanting to track my time better so I can figure out how I'm spending my time, how much time I'm actually writing versus doing other things. But I will share that probably towards the end. So let's first start with the Traveler's Notebook, the Sterling Ink. You will see my laptop over here, and then these are two clips that I purchased from the Traveler's Notebook. So this is where I keep track of my, can you see that? Is it dark? Okay, hopefully that's a little brighter. This is where I keep track of my weight and steps. So you can see the two separate columns for each month. The little stars that you see are the days where I'm either charging my step tracker. On Monday, I plan on setting up for Q4, since I think the first is on Wednesday. So I'm going to set this up. In the monthly, I keep track of my sleep based on my sleep number bed. And then when you see the stickers, those are the days that I either forgot. So in this past weekend, the bed didn't even register me sleeping on the bed. So I didn't have any numbers to put down. And then for September, let me just show you. So I've been keeping up with this pretty consistently. So over here, I keep track of my meals: breakfast, lunch, dinner, and a snack if I eat any snacks. On Tuesdays, I take a specific vitamin. And then these are my vitamins. I keep track of my sleep here based on my step tracker. And then over here, I've been keeping track of any pain that I've been feeling. So in this case, it's been I was having some lower back pain, so I was keeping track of that. My trigger thumb with my left hand, the wrist pain in my right hand. I was taking ibuprofen for a while. My doctor said it was okay, but then I stopped when it felt like it wasn't making much of a difference. And I didn't want to stay on it too long in case it loses its effectiveness when I eventually need it. So I stopped doing that, but I started up some turmeric. And then when I did, I tried to get back into exercising. I was starting slow. So I was doing 10-minute walks. And then my eye drops. If we had takeout, these stickers came out. And we generally have takeout on the weekends, because most of the time I don't feel like cooking when he's home. And then here we are this week, because the first will be next Wednesday. Now let's move into the Wonderland 222, which I use as my writer's notebook. The tracking has been going great. So this is what August looks like. I started what I think is called diamond art painting. So I crossed out the days where I was not doing it, and then the day I actually started, which was Monday. My sister or my niece bought me a kit for either my birthday or Christmas a few years ago. And so I decided to pull it out and try to do it. So I started Monday, and you do feel calmer. I will admit that. You do feel relaxed because you're zoned in on just trying to get these little dots onto this adhesive image. But the rest of it has been going not too poorly. I think I've been doing okay. And then let me show you September. So here we are with the August review, and then the September overview. And then over here, I made a September map so I could keep track of when I wrote. So that would be the heart. And then when I was either plotting, trying to think of ideas or whatever for my story, I did this double heart. And today's Thursday, so I need to cross this out and put down a double heart. I was working on the second storyline in the rough draft. These were my goals for September. I did one for writing, health, self-care. The fourth one is generally something for myself and my husband, but I knew we were not doing that great health-wise, that I just decided I knew we weren't going to do anything going out, sightseeing or whatever. So I just decided to leave it blank. This is the monthly layout where I like to keep track of the weather. Last year, I was really happy with the setup of having a dedicated writer's notebook and then having a catch-all planner. Because of the health issues that have been going on with myself and with my husband, keeping track of the information that's in here and then putting it into my catch-all Sterling ink planner was just a little too much. So I wanted to see if this would work. My plan is for 2026 to use the Wonderland 222 A5 as my catch-all, and then with Sterling ink, I just plan on using the N1. And what else did I buy? And then I bought the A6 6-ring inserts, the monthly and I think the weekly. But whenever I get that order, I will film an unboxing. But I wanted to see if I could keep track of the weather as well as any appointments. In this case, my husband went to urgent care on the 9th. When we get our water delivery, street cleaning, so you can see it here. And it works giving the top half of the box to the appointment and then the bottom half to the weather. It worked. This is the first week of September. So this is where I would keep track of the task that I have for the day. Packages are down here, and then if I have any groceries, I would generally put it on this side. Appointments are up on top. That is the water delivery that you saw in the monthly layout too. This was for last week. So let's see, you gotta have groceries here. And then here we are for this week. I can't remember if I ever showed this planner. This is a Kikki A5 planner. It is a 6-ring binder. So back in 2016, 2017, when I was discovering journals and planners, Kikki was something that I was looking into trying. I have this one, A5, and then I also have an A6, which I haven't used, and it's still in its original box. The HB90 method is taught by Sarah Cannon of Heart Breathings. She has a YouTube channel, which I will list down below, and you can listen to her talk about her HB90 method. So I won't really share too much in here, but this is kind of what it looks like if you had the workbook, which is what this is. So once you sign up for her course, you have a lifetime membership. And then every time she offers a class, you're welcome to sit in on the class as an alumni. Over here, I have my task with my 3 goals. I'm going to try to do the task blocks. I always fought this when I first learned about it through her class. Each task block is worth 30 minutes. So you work 25, take 5 minutes off. As you can see, I messed up on the date. So I had to redate it up on top. I wrote down the project or the task that I was working on. So I put down my project was to revise my rough draft of book 1. I gave myself 40 task blocks. Each block here, there are 10. So I gave myself 4 rows, thinking that I would be able to fill this out. But here we are on Thursday, and you can see I have a lot of blank boxes open. But over here, I have like clean, weed the backyard. I gave myself 10, which is this entire row. I didn't do anything yesterday, so I'm leaving that blank. I have not exercised yet, but when I do, I will go ahead and color that in. And then here's my diamond art, which I tend to do in the afternoon before my husband gets home. And you can see that yesterday I did a lot. I was talking with my family about my medical stuff, and it was stressing me out. So I spent a little longer time working on it. And I printed out the weekly layout from her planner. I had meant to set this up for Q4, which starts for me next Monday, the 29th. I went ahead and printed out another one. I whited out the dates and the week. Next week will be week 1 for me of Q4. So I whited it out, and then I just redated the top. So what I'm going to do is later I'm going to punch holes in it and then put it in, and then come Monday I can get started again with this whole thing. But I've noticed that I was not keeping track in here, so now I'm kind of wishing that I did not print out the weekly layout, because I don't need, now I have 3 of these. One here, one in the Sterling Ink Common Planner, which you haven't seen yet, and I'll be showing that in a minute, and then the Wonderland 222, which is my dedicated writer's notebook. So I only printed out one month's worth. So I think for November, I will not be printing this out. I will just probably print out this as well as the task blocks. She gives you weekly questions that you would answer that would correspond to the week that you just had, how well with the goals, task, project that you had planned for that week. But this is what this looks like. And she also offers daily pages. I definitely don't need that. But if this is a course that you're interested in, learn it first the way she teaches you. So get your foundation there. And then once you've learned her program, try it out for the first quarter. And then you'll figure out what will or will not work for you. Again, I took this course in June of 2021. So there were a lot of things that did not work for me, so I don't do them. Task blocks was one, but again, I want to try it out to see if I can track where I'm spending my time. So having said that, considering the task blocks, I am now going to show you this is a Coach cover, A5. My husband purchased this for me a few years ago for Christmas. This notebook I purchased from Michael's when it was on sale online a couple months ago, maybe last year or the year before. I bought quite a few and they're stacked in the bookcase. But I pulled one out. The pages are grid, as you can see. But I decided to use this to track my time. So where you saw this with the task blocks, and again, each square represents 30 minutes. I decided to do a slightly bigger one from 5 a.m. We get up at 4:45-ish in the morning till about 8. Each row represents half an hour. And I gave myself 2 colors. So it's a blue and here's my orange. The blue represents writing. So you can see how much writing I did in each day and at what time. I try to start my chore, whatever, my writing at the top or the bottom of the hour. Now this is where this thing kind of messes me up because sometimes I want to write at 8:15. I don't want to wait until 8:30. So that kind of messes me up a little bit because I have this broken down exactly from, this row is 5 o'clock. The second row is 5:30. Then you've got 6, right? If that makes sense. So if you're looking at it like that, that's 6, that's 6:30, there's 7, 7:30. I use this timer that my husband bought for me as an early birthday present. He ordered it from Japan. I think it's an elephant that comes out of there. Unfortunately, it makes a normal cuckoo clock sound and not some circus noise, which I think I would have liked better. But when I am getting ready to write, I will set this at 30 minutes, hit the green button, and then I set it aside and I start writing. I try not to get distracted with emails, text, nothing like that. I really try to focus and write, brainstorm, whatever I'm working. With the orange one, it's everything else. If I'm washing dishes, if I get up to go outside, it's getting marked with orange. If I'm petting Kit Kat, it's getting marked in that slot for orange. So right now it's currently 9:51 in the morning. So I can say right now, so between 9 and 9:30, I am still doing other stuff. And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, it's 9:52, so I might as well just go ahead. I thought about breaking down my colors more. So let's pretend if I am, washing dishes, doing chores, give that a red. And then if I am answering emails or doing work for my husband, I will give him green. That's just too much work for me. So writing, blue, at least for this week. Writing is blue. Everything else under the spectrum is going to be orange for this particular week. Next week, I may change different colors because I've done that previously. So here's where I've tried to do the same thing. Flex day is basically a day where I don't write at all. So these are past weeks from past months. See here, I try to break it down a little bit more so I could see what I was exactly doing. So this I'm going to try to keep up with in Q4 so I can really track and see exactly, and also I can figure out when my best writing time is. I generally like to write in the mornings because I'm more awake, I'm more focused. Unfortunately, there are times where I have to do things for my husband with his business that I need to do that first because that actually pays our bills. My writing, as of right now, does not. But this has been working nice. And then here's the HB90. Again, I will link her channel down below in case you want to check it out yourself. Now let's go into the Sterling ink. This is the comment planner. I don't have enough room anymore to show you how thick it is, but there it is. Close-up shot. And so it's functional also, but loaded with stickers and washi tape. So here's September. I broke down the row, so I gave myself exercise. This is for my garden. Packages are over here. And then here we are this week. Today's Thursday. And then this weekend I will set up for Q4, which I will film. And then let me just show you the daily pages for September. So if you're new to the channel, I used to use the Hobonichi Cousin. This is actually the first year that I've used the Sterling ink as my common planner catch-all, and then the Wonderland 222. The one thing that I like about both planners from Sterling ink and Wonderland 222, this is the cousin size, is that there are no quotes on the bottom, and then mine, the one that I happen to pick, the back pages are blank, so that I can write as much or as little as I want. I'm not committed to trying to fill that page up. So this is the start of September. These were the things that I had hoped that we would do. So I did read, I still need to fill in this. Family time, my husband and I haven't done anything yet. Again, given that we're both sick. Movie night, I haven't found anything yet that I want to watch with him. We haven't met anybody. We were kind of hoping to adopt a dog. So haven't met anyone. And then this is my buy sticker. I did buy from Sterling ink. And then I also bought a Diamond Art Club kit. So that's what I bought. Here is September 1st. Here's Kit Kat. My husband was barbecuing. My mom's dragon fruit. So you can see how it jumped from the 1st to the 6th. This is one of the orchids that I have out back. My Palmera. So I started dahlia seeds earlier this year. This is the first one to bloom, but its petals were messed up, especially right there. But I like the color, so I'm going to keep it regardless of how well it does. Here's another orchid in bloom on the 10th. My husband was sick, so he stayed home. Magazine cutout. On the 11th, my sister stopped by with some dim sum. And then I wrote a little bit about 9/11 because it had been 24 years since so many people died. And I remember it like it was yesterday, so had to write about that. Here are some apples. On the 13th, my nieces visited my mom, their grandmother. So under here, I have pictures of my mom with my sister. This paper is the Hobonichi paper. Let me reach out. So this paper is this that you can rip out. I like to put photos underneath it. I put washi here on the side so you can lift it up. But since my mom and sister are under there, I'm not gonna lift it up. On Monday, the 22nd, is when I started to try the Diamond Art painting to see if it actually can relax you, and it does. So I wrote a little bit about that. On the 23rd, so here's that dahlia. That's the second blooming. So here's the first one. I told you it was messed up here, but the second one came out a little nicer. There was really no deformity over here. So I'm pretty happy with this one. Here's a yellow one. This is the first bloom for this plant. Also started from seed. I'm really happy with the yellow. But these are 2 so far. I can't remember how many more are back there. Fingers crossed. I am hoping it will bloom. And that's it. That's everybody. So let me put everybody back. I guess I'll put these 3 back in the photo. So if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. And if you didn't, give it a thumbs down. I generally do after the pin videos. I am thinking about starting to do sort of like a plan with me, how I set up my planner for the week videos. I'm hoping to do that this weekend if everything, fingers crossed, go well. But that's it. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you guys later. Have a good weekend. Bye.